Thanks, everybody. Welcome to Build. I'm your host, Ricky Camilleri. Our next guests are the star and writer-directors of the upcoming supernatural comedy Extraordinary, where Maeve Higgins plays a lonely driving instructor with supernatural abilities who gets swept up in the attempted sacrifice of a young woman. Please welcome Maeve Higgins and directors Mike Ahern and Enda Loughman. Let's hear it. Hey.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for being here.
Oh, it's great to be here.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Thank you. New York City.
Oh, yeah? How long have you
I
guys
live
been in
Brooklyn,
town?
but
You do.
they're just visiting.
Yeah, we're just here.
How's your trip?
Yeah, we got in last night. It's been great so far.
Are you taking them to any Brooklyn bars or restaurants or anything?
I'm really busy. I don't have time to show these bumpkins around.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
No, I think we'll go for dinner later, maybe to Shake Shack or something.
We're just gonna dress up in sheets and walk around the city trying to promote the movie.
Yeah.
Are you actually going to be going to places to promote it like here, or are you just going to be handing out like cards?
I think we're just gonna get like bed sheets from the hotel and walk around dressed as ghosts.
So
People ask behind people, say boo.
people ask, why are you dressed as a ghost? And you say, well, funny you should ask that. We have a movie that we're promoting about ghosts.
We died of coronavirus.
So how did this movie begin for you like that one? How did this movie begin for the three of you? It feels built around Maeve, and you have a credit for additional writing on it, right? Did the three of you
That's
know
much
each
contested, though.
Did the three of you know each other prior to working on the movie? So how did this start?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a lot younger than them, but we are friends from Ireland, from when we all lived in Ireland. Now I live here, and Mike lives in London, and Enda's
I'm still stuck at home. I never made
With
it.
your parents too, yeah.
Yeah, no, we knew Maeve for a long time and we were fans of her stand-up, and then Maeve made this amazing show called Fancy Vittles, and we ended up like making the titles for the TV show, and that's kind of how we met first. And then when we started writing this movie, we just like had the idea for the film, and then Maeve just seemed like the perfect person to write it for. Before we even wrote a word, we kind of told her, "You're going to be in this movie that we're about to write," and she said, "Yeah," thinking it would never happen.
Yeah, because as you all know, it's really hard to get a movie made and to get funded. And so they were saying to me, oh, you're going to play this driving instructor who can communicate with ghosts and be like this country Ghostbuster girl. And I was thinking like, okay, that sounds really good, like go for it. But I was thinking, not a chance. And then also they were saying, you know, obviously you'll have to learn how to drive, because I couldn't drive at the time. And so... But then I didn't believe the film was going to get made, so I never learned how to drive.
Did you not know how to drive in the movie?
No, I'm on. It's how they had to spend all their special effects budget.
Yeah, we had a pretty tough time because we were like our schedule was very tight anyway. But then because Maeve couldn't drive, now I can't drive either, so I'm not gonna like be very judgmental here.
Driver.
But driver of the group, okay.
But because of that, every time like we even had to park a car or anything, it
Yeah.
had to become like a VFX shot. So we'd have to have a double park the car, and then we'd have to like take the double out, put Maeve in, and get her to step out of the car and do an edit in there, so and like kind of try and hide the edit. So it just became really complicated.
What made you want to commit to a driving instructor who can communicate with the dead?
I think we were looking for a banal.
There's also a good way of having a character that had to interact with the community,
Yeah.
even though she probably didn't really want to.
Yeah.
Everybody knows her. And,
Exactly.
yeah.
So she was the only driving instructor in the town.
And I think there's a graphic kind of sensibility to the driving instructor car that like kind of harks back to like the Ghostbusters Ecto 1 car and stuff. There was something, the way they sort of looks.
I only just got that now.
So that was the reason.
Maeve, I love your performance in this movie because I feel like you are never overselling it or playing her like a big comedic character, which that seems to be more like Will Forte's job in the movie.
Yeah, because he's the baddie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but you're this sort of great subtle performance, this gateway in, and everybody else around you seems crazier, even though you are the one who communicates with the dead. What was it like crafting that performance and sort of going into a comedy, being like, I'm not the one who, I don't have to be funny, but you are very funny in it, excuse me.
Yeah, I mean, I think the way the lads wrote it was to be like it's really funny, it's really silly, it's a ridiculous plot, but the thing is like there's a heart to it as well. So like my character she's sad and lonely and she feels guilty because she accidentally killed her father. So there's all of that going on in her too. So I think playing it not too big was sort of appropriate, so it didn't turn into a cartoon. And then it was really fun to be, in a cast with Will Forte and Barry Ward and Claudia O'Doherty as well, who's kind of our Will and Claudia are the bad couple, the evil ones, and so they could be really like big and hilarious in that way.
There's a moment early on in the film, I think it's one of the first people that we see you having a driving instructing lesson with. I don't remember exactly what you say to him, but he immediately assumes that you're coming on to him.
I know.
Which I just love that scene so much because she's lonely, but in that, he senses she's so lonely she may be doing that, but she's not doing it in that moment at all.
Him what he's doing tonight. And he's like, I'm engaged.
I'm engaged.
How did you guys get Will Forte in the movie?
Well, we wrote the part for from the start to be played by a big character, like a rock star or a big comedic character, and then we just managed to get the script to Will, through his agents and stuff, and it was really, we were really lucky. He just finished the season of Last Man on Earth, and he was kind of just about to go on holidays, and we just kind of got the script in his hand just before he did. And when he read it, he loved it. But I think what sold it to him is we actually made it like a little short, kind of couple of minutes sort of short film version of it, with just Maeve playing, going to a house and solving this haunting. And it had some of the jokes from the movie that are still in it, like the haunted gravel and a few of those things. And Will loves that kind of really detail-orientated, like small humor. And so when he watched that and read the script, he's like, I can see this being really funny. So we got on a Skype with him, and by the end of the Skype, he was like, yeah, I'll come to Ireland. And we're like, okay.
He was going on holidays to Ireland anyway. So
Yeah, he was.
I have a feeling we just paid for his holiday.
He does love Ireland. He's been there a bunch of times, 10 times in the last few years. He just adores Ireland. So
Was he really going on holiday in Ireland
was.
as well?
Yeah.
That's what he tells us.
that's what he tells us. I think it's just to be mean. I think it's just to be mean.
How the agent got the script to him, like, oh, you said last week you were going to Ireland. I've got this. You want to go work, make some money over there while you're there? And I love Claudia O'Doherty. The first time that I saw her was on the Netflix show Love.
Yes.
Yeah.
And she's such a unique, specific voice. When did you start thinking of her for the role, and how did you match her up with Will?
We actually also wrote the role for her specifically.
Oh, really?
Because we'd known her for quite a few years, and just thought she was great. And we called the character Claudia.
In the script, the character's called Claudia, so she kind of had to do it. It was
So
like
she had to do it,
emotional
exactly.
blackmail.
So, meaning we actually had written that part for her, so it was always going to be her. And luckily, it all.
You know
came
how
together.
these male directors are constantly writing funny, great parts for women. Typical.
You said that the additional writing credit is contested. I know that's a joke, but
No, not really.
how did no,
Jesus.
I know.
We're actually there's a court case going on at the moment, so
Yeah,
suit of
we're,
them.
we're on separate parts of the stage here.
Everybody's
the
nice
Eagles.
today, but yeah.
yeah.
How did that I mean, is that just you were working with them, you knew about the script for so long, you sort of
Yeah,
were going
I mean,
back
I
and
think
forth
it was
about
very generous of them to give me a credit because we would, they wrote the script, it was their idea, and then they would send it back and forth over, it was 4 years or 5 years.
I also think though, you on set, a lot of the we wrote it very specifically, but when Maeve took the part, she just kind of made it her own, and would say the lines better and with more jokes and stuff than we had in the script. So we were just like, you're basically writing here. You should get additional writing.
And I suppose the character was based on Maeve's stand-up persona in a way as well, so it was kind of hard to claim that as
or
our
what
own.
we imagine her stand-up persona is. I don't think it actually is her stand-up.
A little bit.
Yeah.
No, yeah, and definitely, my character, and I've said this before, but I think it is based on my stand-up because I've been doing stand-up for a really long time, and there's this kind of sweet, lonely, weird person, and then when I was reading it, really, I was like, that's Mike, that's actually him. He's very like Rose, the character,
I am.
except he's not in her body.
What makes you like Rose the character?
I think, I really like those yogurts that she eats in the movie.
He literally has an exercise ball that he sits on and eats the yogurts. All of her character tics and everything, and his sense of humor and the way he dresses. Not right now, but he's usually in bad 80s clothes.
Yeah, you write what you know.
Not far from it right now. Not far from it right now.
Yeah. Thanks. Getting a
I
bad ring
love
here.
the sort of deadpan comedic sensibility of the film. What were some of your influences or touchstones going into writing this?
Eyes wide shut.
No,
I've never even seen that. I just thought that would be funny.
we obviously grew up watching loads of horror movies and like The Exorcist and Ghostbusters and all that, but we didn't really end up watching any of those movies when we were, preparing to make this film.
You have one shot that is a direct reference
Yes,
to the
but
Exorcist.
everybody knows that shot, and that's kind of what, you know what I mean? It's not something that we did obviously look it up to make sure we were getting it right, but it's not sort of, we don't watch The Exorcist on repeat. We're not those kind of horror nerds, even though that's all very good. What we...
intense day.
Yeah.
The Exorcist on repeat.
What we were into is like lots of Coen Brothers movies and stuff.
Particularly Raising Arizona.
And I think Raising Arizona and Fargo were two that we watched a lot. I think Fargo's like really deadpan as well. A bit like
one scary movie though that we did watch in the build-up one. It wasn't really for the story or the tone. It was more just for the look. Was Poltergeist.
Yeah, because there's lots of TV screen stuff and that, and there's lots of that
Apparitions and how they shot that. I would imagine.
Yeah, and then I think like Raising Arizona was a very good reference for us tonally, because it's such a cartoony film in a way. It's like a live-action cartoon, but you really care about the characters, and at the end you're pretty much crying when he's giving his speech in the last few moments, about them living longer and older and stuff. And we really wanted to have a heart to our like really stupid jokes, even there's like puking jokes, and there's really, it's almost like Airplane at times, but we really wanted you to care about the characters all the way through. And
Airplane is also something we probably watched.
How when you were writing it and then when you were directing it, how did you find that tone? I mean, it is really hard to make something that, like Raising Arizona, that is cartoonish, yet at the same time you do care by the end of it. I think the Coen Brothers even described, or maybe Cage described it as a Looney Tunes cartoon.
Yeah.
Like live action Looney Tunes.
Yeah, I think for us it was like, we know the premise is kind of insane and not possible and not real, but you just treat everything really seriously, as if the characters do believe that. And then I think the thing that a lot of comedy kind of punches down, and I think we just care about them. Like, I actually care about Martin and Rose and what happens to them, and I want them to be okay as a director and as a writer. So it's sort of like once you start caring about all your characters, it makes a difference, I think.
Maeve, how does that play into your performance?
Yeah, I think that, like we were saying, not to make it into a total cartoon, and I think as well that we all share the same sensibility and sense of humor. And something that's interesting to me is that when these two started to write the movie, they had a sign up in their office saying, like, make something only we can make. So I think when you go that specific and that unique, you can't really go wrong. It just can be a bit hard. It can take a bit longer time if you're not doing what everybody else is doing.
Are you impressed that we have an office?
It's like, no,
He's like, "You've got
a
an
rented
office."
space.
Office is a very generous word for where we were.
Yeah, that was all right.
That was.
Yeah.
You guys got an office? That's wow.
Well done, guys.
Real pros up here.
We don't have an office anymore, actually.
That's true. We used to have an office.
Why do you think it takes longer to make something that only you can make?
I suppose, like, even, they had to make a little proof of concept. It's really hard to explain, like with any type of creativity, it's hard to explain, like, what's in your head and how you can get it out, whether you're writing or filmmaking. It's just difficult for other people to understand. So I think the great thing was they had the script and then they got a bit of funding to make a little short kind of teaser-like thing. And then when everyone else could see that, like the money people came on board when they could see, that's what they're talking about.
It was.
Then you got an office.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you read the script, it's true that when you read the script, it could be like quite wacky or broad.
Yeah.
Because all these jokes can be played. It's like a big studio comedy, and I guess we were really specific about the way we wanted it done and made, which is hard to get people behind sometimes when you're like, oh, it's going to be really deadpan. People just kind of read deadpan as boring or a bad thing. Whereas like that's really funny, So again, when we made the little teaser, people just went, "Oh, I understand."
Do you also find that the length that it takes to make something that is uniquely your own can also take so long because you have to filter out all of the sort of bad ideas that are influenced by
I think that
what we're told movies should be?
That's what makes it your own is the things that you do or don't filter. So I think it's impossible to make something in isolation. I mean, you can't write something that is not the sum of everything you've ever seen and heard in your life. I think it's always going to be what that is, but I suppose it's filtering out the things you don't want to is what makes it yours. So I don't think it's not as if it's never been done before, but I do think it was something that only we could have done.
Yeah, true.
Maeve, you said that the character Rose is influenced by your stand-up persona. How would you define or characterize your stand-up persona, and what was it like bringing, like, sort of lending that to somebody else's project?
Yeah, I would describe it as, theatrical Viagra. No, I don't know. Just like funny. I do like observational stand-up. I'm pretty small. I do a lot of throwaway stuff. And so I think it translated pretty well into being in a film, especially like I said, because they wrote it with that in mind. So I still host shows here and there. Like I still love doing stand-up, but it's definitely like more fun if someone else is writing it. You don't have to think about it too much. It's really fun being in a film. I would recommend it to everybody if you're interested. It's really fun. You go, there's you get your breakfast, lunch, dinner, and someone puts makeup on you, and they are the ones who have to freak out. But for being in a film, it's easy and fun.
I've heard that.
Yeah.
Actors like to pretend it's difficult or they're brave, but generally you hang out, you get called to set, you do a line, and then you go and wait to get called back.
The only problem is you do your lines and then your scene partner, you have to wait for them to do yours, but you're not on camera. So you just it's, you have to be polite and wait for them. You're not allowed to be on Instagram or anything. So that actually,
even though you were
doing stories pretty much the whole time.
But when I think about it, actually, I think it is actually pretty brave of me to be in this film. Yeah.
You're like as brave as Tom Cruise when he breaks his leg doing something.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really have that many stunts, but in one part, I did have to lie on a skateboard, which was really hard. Yeah. So now that the more I'm going, I feel
pretend to have sex with someone.
Lying on a skateboard's harder than standing on it.
It actually
apparently
is. Yeah, it is.
I think we have some time for questions from the audience.
Great.
The first one is from Karina, right here. Hi.
Hello.
Hi there.
Hi.
So with the movie being really funny and stuff, did you write most of the jokes, or was there a lot of improv on set too? And if there was, how much of that ended up staying in the movie?
I would say 90% of it was on the page,
or
and
more,
Maeve was actually was probably the only person on it who did improv, because I think pretty much everyone else stuck to the words on the page. So
that's just because she didn't know her lines. Though.
Yes, that's true.
It's actually really hard. Remembering lines is actually really, really hard.
Very brave.
Yeah, it was very brave not to learn the script.
I just played it like jazz. Just came in, see whatever happens, just riff.
The truth is that we actually we made the whole movie in 25 days, which is really not enough time. So we didn't have enough. We didn't really have much time to have just play with every scene and stuff. So a lot of times we were just getting what we needed and moving on. But when we did have time, we would try and get a little bit of improv. And then Maeve obviously was would try and do something different on different takes because she knew her character so well. It was, she was staying within character and doing some really funny improv.
Actually, the driving instructor scenes were probably the least scripted of everything, because we were just
the stuff that you were saying that you liked. In the opening scenes, we just kind of drove around for a while with the guy in the car, and you were kind of being a weird driving instructor to him.
Yeah.
And that was pretty funny. And then Will had a different kind of way of it wasn't really improv, but it's I guess it's from his SNL days and stuff. He would kind of go, "Can I pitch you a joke?" And we'd be like, "Yes, Will Forte, you can pitch us a joke." And he's like, "What if I said this?" And we're like, "Yeah, I'd say that." But he would be really kind of polite and not just try and do his thing. It was great. He just adored the script and just wanted to stick to it, really.
One more question from Thomas. Hey.
So Maeve, you and the cast are so funny. And
Thank you.
Yeah, it's such great chemistry. And so did you have to work on warming up that chemistry, or how did that happen for this film?
So I think we had a week before for rehearsals and things like that. And I had met Will a couple of times, and Claudia and I are good friends, but actually we didn't have scenes together in the end. But myself and Barry's a really good Irish actor. And we just rehearsed a little bit and then just got stuck into it. And I'm glad that you saw that we had chemistry. I guess it's a risk, right? Because we never met in person before.
Brave.
It was brave.
It was, again, I'm just struck by how courageous I've been through this whole process. It's really beautiful. But it was, I think having the directors with such a strong sense of what they wanted it to be as well made everything gel gel together as well, you know, so that was important.
Yeah, and I think to Barry's credit as
Excuse me,
well.
Mike.
Sorry, to Barry's credit, he's you know, like he's been in Ken Loach movies, and he had to play a number of parts in the film because he gets possessed by so many people. So he just really was like the pro for us as well, because this is our first movie too.
Yeah, and it was my first, it was all our first movie except for Barry.
Yeah. And so Barry had been, Barry's been in like serious films. I guess this is his first proper comedic role in a way since he was 13. So he's been on sets so much.
But that worked for us because I suppose he's playing the straight man mostly until he isn't. But yeah.
He's possessed and he's playing Bonnie, at
Yeah.
which point it's like a full-on character transition that he does.
Yeah, he's great.
Guys, I love the film. Congratulations.
Thank
It's
you.
so
Thank you very
funny.
much.
Thank you.
Called Extraordinary. When can people check it out?
It's coming out tomorrow, March 6th in the US and selected theaters all over the country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
All right. Everybody give them a huge round of applause for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.